who come forward, like Ginny Jaquith, over and over again, to put that thing together, and it brings hundreds of thousands of dollars back into our community. We've given over $1 million back, or over $500,000 back to our community in terms of just the nonprofits. I could talk about Rotary, since we're talking about organizations in town. Look at what they just did in this last year. We needed help with our library in Sanchez, and Dave Bertini and company rose up and said, we'll paint that. They took it on, and it was a much bigger challenge. I don't know if you've looked at it. Some of you were involved, but it was a much bigger challenge than they thought it was going to be. They did a marvelous job. They have raised the money and presented a check just this past council meeting to the city, and it's an expensive process to train a police dog as a replacement for our police force. They've also started Rotary Plaza in front of Sanchez to improve that. The Chamber of Commerce has completely overhauled themselves. In many ways, partly to your direction, Courtney, it's wonderful to have you on board, but you have raised money for a new fire rescue vehicle. You've also come forward in terms of amenities for Palmetto and some of what we're doing, and I'm going to talk about for Palmetto. You know, I can't say enough. As we go from organization to organization in town, the Lions, the Moose, I'm just stunned. And over Christmas, I spent time over the holiday season, time with some of our talent in town. Did any of you see Babes in Toyland? An entire production, one adult, and staging everything. It was outstanding. Rob, you're in here. You're part of that music community. The talent in this town in music is amazing. Concerts, things that are available, a new jazz album that's out, a young author who started under a pen name, who happens to be a checker at Safeway. The talent in our community is deep and it is strong, and that's why the people are our best resource. However, we have some challenges, right? We have some things that are foremost in my mind to really bring together. First is, of course, economic development. An economic development that preserves and capitalizes on our resources, our hills, our beaches, our community. Second is, of course, a sustainable city finance. And as I said on the night when I was installed as mayor, I just have to have that in the front of my mind as we go forward with every single decision. Finance for every city in this state, for the state itself, is a challenge. If you've listened to the economics, we're looking at continued deficits because of the economy for a minimum of 5 years out before we start to turn around. This is not going away. And I want to put to you in my comments when I talk about it, the idea that we have to solve some of this as a community. We have to bring it together. But first, let's talk about economic development. Because there's some things that we're doing, things that you're doing, and things that I want to outline just so you know what's going on in the community. You know, it was about 1.5 years ago that we formed the reformed the Economic Development Committee. And we have some incredibly talented people from our community representing business, representing marketing, representing some of the real estate interests. As you can hear, Sue is, what can I say, you're volunteer plus for these committees. But I appreciate much of the real estate committee for coming forward and doing so much in this regard. One of the tasks that is nearing completion that economic development took on was a survey. And that survey had to do with our permitting process and the experiences of developers and other people, not just businesses, but developers in the planning office. And so one of the reasons we wanted to get some actual data is because you hear all these rumors and talk, but you don't really know, gee, how often does an individual story happen? Believe it or not, as many times as I hear bad things, I hear good things. So I want to know what that's about. And why is that so important to get done right now? Because some of you probably read in the paper that we have hired a new director of planning. That's George White, who will be joining us. He will be at the general plan meeting. He'll be in the audience, but his actual first day of work is on Monday, that following Monday, the 31st. He comes to us from Calaveras County, where he was involved in the general plan update there. He actually was planner for Petaluma when they went through their redevelopment. He has coastal commission experience, or coastal commission interface in terms of Monterey. So he has a lot of the skills that we really need in this city. And I'm very pleased with Steve Rhodes' choice for planning director. We also want to give him that information so he can make the department much more user-friendly. He's already talking about things like how to make computer sites more interactive so businesses can get information, so we can do that in a more efficient way. How the planning process can be made much more consistent and flow and clear, and with people not being as confused. So some of those things are things that we really want to have happen. We've also been working in the Economic Development Committee on revitalizing some of our aging business districts. Sue very nicely, yes, I was going to mention, you've seen what's happened at Pedro Point. You get an anchor store and the whole shopping mall begins to change, doesn't it? Isn't it beautiful? It's very key that they've been coming along for a very long time. I know there are people thought they weren't, but they've been paying rent on that building for quite some time, and Fresh and Easy is actually going to be opening this year. Very well, not too distant future here. I will tell you, we also can see the same changes going on up at Manor. The anchor being, of course, Walgreens comes in, then you have a move to include the new Verizon store, which will have a ribbon cutting this week. You have a lot of things that can push forward that are really, partly the council and the city makes opportunity available, but also the community makes that available.